In the previous video, we have already learned how to configure a MuleSoft pipeline. It's now time to learn how to commit, promote, and deploy through the pipeline using a user story. Let's now create a user story that will serve as a container to commit, promote, and deploy work. From the app launcher, navigate to the User Stories tab. Click the New button to create a new user story record. Here, select the user story and click the Next button. Enter App Enhancements in the title field. Enter Copado Trial Application in the Project field. This project is created in the previous video. And in the Credential field, look for the environment where you made your changes. Here in our example, we have selected the local dev as environment. Now click the Save button. Great! You have created a user story. Before we go ahead, take the clone of the remote repository in your local system. To do so, open GitHub and navigate to your repository. Here from the Code tab, copy the SSH URI of your repository. Now open the terminal and type the git clone command, paste the URI, and execute it. It will clone the remote repository in your local system. Now change the directory to the local repository by executing cd folder name. Next, go ahead and make the code or configuration changes and have Copado push the changes to the version control system. In order to push the changes to GitHub, it will be necessary to use the Copado CLI. First, authorize the org, where you have your user story record. Run the sfdx command sfdx auth web login to authorize your org. It will open the Salesforce login window, enter the credentials of your org, and after successful login, the terminal will display the message "Successfully authorized." To verify and see the list of all orgs you've authenticated to, run the command sfdxforce org list. In the terminal under the orgs list, you will find the name of your org you have authenticated to in the previous step. Now that the org is authorized, it's time to configure Copado CLI. Run the command sfdx Copado auth set target username myorg@example.com to configure the Copado CLI to work with the particular org credential. Replace myorg@example.com with your org's username and execute it. If prompted to override the active authentication, type Y and enter. It will display the message Copado CLI configured. Let's now configure the Copado CLI to work with the user story. We will execute the command sfdx Copado work set s Copado user story name. Replace the Copado user story name with the name of your user story. It will create and check out a feature branch with the name feature/user story name in your local repository. To confirm the current branch, run the git status command. Let's now make the code changes in your local repository to meet the user story requirements. Go to your private local repo and make the code changes to meet the user story requirements. As an example here, we are editing a description in an example API flow.xml file. To prepare your file changes for commit, execute the command git add. Next, execute the command git commitm. Add your commit message to commit your user story. Once the commit is done, execute the sfdx Copado work push command to push the changes to the remote feature branch and the user story record in Copado. As you can see, we have successfully committed metadata and pushed changes with Copado CLI. Now open the user story. Select the Build subtab and scroll down to the user story metadata section to see the files you've committed. Also look for the user story commit section to check the commit record. Finally, you need to deploy the user story. You can do this either from the Copado CLI or through the Copado UI. Let's discuss each of these scenarios in detail. To deploy the user story through the Copado CLI, we will run the command sfdx Copado work submit D to promote and deploy the user story. However, if you choose to deploy the user story directly through the Copado UI, navigate to your user story and select the Deliver subtab. Mark the Promote and Deploy checkbox to trigger the process to promote and deploy the user story. To check the promotion record, scroll down to the section User Story Promotion and click the Promotion Name link of the record. In the promotion record, you can check the job execution for the Mule Promote and Mule Deploy function. Let's click the job execution link under the Mule Deploy function. Click the result link to access the deployment result or to troubleshoot if the promotion or deployment job execution fails. And navigate to the function's logs file attached to access the deploy result or cause of errors. If the log file is small, Salesforce shows you a preview. However, if the log file is large, you will need to download the file. Once the deployment is successfully completed, you'll see a few updates in the user story. The path has been changed and now it identifies the environment where the user story is staged. This is calculated based on your pipeline connections. Go to the Build subtab. Here, environment and credential fields have been changed to match the path. Finally, having completed all the deployment steps, navigate to the MuleSoft endpoint platform. Go to the Runtime Manager, and here you can see the deployment record. Well done! You have learned how to commit, promote, and deploy a user story through the MuleSoft pipeline.